Welcome to Unposed. This show is made possible by the generosity of Mrs. Kristen Collier, her belief in this project, and her faith in the message behind it. Her support helped bring Unposed into the world, and it does not go unnoticed. I'm Amber Lane, an award-winning boudoir photographer, unofficial confidence coach, and creator of a supportive online women's community that's been thriving since 2017. The overwhelming majority of my time lately has been spent in my garden, which probably isn't surprising if you've seen my home this time of year. I've been planting yearly crops like tomatoes and peppers, learning the plants that have been here for years, and planting future colorful blooms just about anywhere I can find space. But what I've been thinking about isn't just the flowers or the way things look when they're in full bloom. It's the pace of it. Because gardens don't rush themselves. They happen in the time that they're meant to happen. They work on their own timelines, and they're not rushing to get anywhere ahead of those timelines. But I think that we do. There's this moment every spring where everything looks kind of unimpressive. You've planted things, you've planned things, you've done the work, and then for a while, nothing to the naked eye, or at least nothing that feels exciting. Little green shoots, uneven growth, some things thriving, some things not coming up at all, determining what's a weed and what's intention. And if you didn't understand how growth works, you might think you did something wrong. You might dig things up too early. You might overwater. You might try to force something that isn't ready. You might not realize that what one plant needs is completely different from another. You might get frustrated when things don't move as quickly as you'd like. You might decide the whole thing is failing, even though it's actually right on time. I see women do this to themselves constantly. We decide who we want to be, we make changes, we start showing up differently, and we expect immediate results, immediate confidence, immediate clarity, immediate transformation. And when that doesn't happen, we assume something is wrong with us, that maybe we're not disciplined enough or not consistent enough or just not doing it right at all. But if you applied that same logic to a garden, it would sound ridiculous. You wouldn't plant something on Monday and expect it to bloom by Friday. You wouldn't stand over it, frustrated, asking why it hasn't figured itself out yet. You wouldn't compare it to a fully established garden with a team of landscapers caring for it and decide it's behind. You would understand that it's in a phase, a truly necessary phase, and I think that's the part that we forget. We are living things. We have seasons. There are times when we're blooming. There are times when we're building roots. There are times when things look quiet on the surface, but something big is happening underneath. And those quieter seasons are usually the ones where we're the hardest on ourselves because they don't look like progress. They don't photograph well. They don't feel impressive. They don't make for a like-garnering social media post. They don't give us that immediate feedback that says, yes, you're doing so great. But they matter. They might be the most important part. Something else I've learned from gardening is that environment matters more than effort sometimes. You can do everything right, but if something is planted in the wrong place, it's going to struggle. Too much shade, too much sun, soil that doesn't support it. And it doesn't mean the plant is bad, it just means the conditions aren't aligned. I think about how many women are trying to force themselves to thrive in environments that don't actually support them. Relationships, jobs, expectations from society or our family or just our own inner critic, trying to bloom in a place that was never meant for them and then blaming it on themselves when it feels hard. So maybe the question isn't always what's wrong with me. Maybe it's what season am I in? Or even, is this the right environment for me to grow in? Because those are very different questions. Something else gardening has taught me is that failure is built into the process. Not every seed germinates. Sometimes seedlings die for reasons you never fully understand. Sometimes a healthy-looking plant suddenly gets a disease. Sometimes bugs show up overnight. Sometimes a storm snaps something in half. Sometimes you do everything right and it still doesn't survive, and experienced gardeners know this. They don't expect 100% success from every single thing they plant because living things are unpredictable. And I think women are often taught to expect perfection from ourselves, that every decision should work out, every relationship should last forever, every attempt at healing should move in a straight line. Every version of ourselves should constantly improve without setbacks or grief or regression, and that is just not how growth works. Failure is not always evidence that you chose wrong. Sometimes it's evidence that you tried to grow something. Sometimes the lesson was in the tending itself. Sometimes what didn't work still taught you what your soil needed, what your boundaries needed, what parts of you needed more light, more nourishment, more protection. Gardens are constantly teaching us to begin again without making it mean that we're bad at growing. And maybe the most comforting thing about gardens, in my opinion, is that they never try to hold on to a bloom forever. Some flowers last months. Some open for a single morning. I have this beautiful purple morning glory in my garden that blooms for one day. One beautiful, impossible little moment, and then they close again. But that doesn't make the bloom less meaningful. It's still part of the cycle. It's still part of the beauty. I think we all struggle with that as humans. We want to preserve every good season indefinitely, every version of ourselves, every relationship, every moment where we felt beautiful or loved or certain. But nature doesn't work that way. Things are meant to change. Things are meant to die sometimes, not as punishment, but to make room for new growth. The garden I have right now will not look the same in August or October or next spring. Neither will I, and neither will you. There are versions of us that bloom brightly for a season and then quietly make way for something new. There are identities, relationships, dreams, and even wounds that eventually compost into something else entirely. And I think there's peace in realizing that not every beautiful thing is meant to last forever. Some things are meant to teach us how to appreciate them while they're here, to notice them while they're blooming, to be present enough to say, this matters, even if it's temporary. If you're in a season right now where things feel slow or unclear or not as beautiful as you hoped they would be by now, I want you to consider the possibility that nothing has gone wrong. You might just be in the part of process that doesn't get photographed or blogged about or bragged about on social media. The part where roots are forming and things are stabilizing and where growth is happening quietly. And that doesn't mean you're behind, just means you're becoming. If this resonated with you, I would love for you to stay connected. You can follow or subscribe to Unposed wherever you're listening and share this episode with someone who might need to hear it. This is Unposed. I'm Amber Lane, and I'll see you next time.